It was. I don't know.
Let me just double check those that are joining us by Zoom. Can you verify that the audio is okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, I will turn the time over to you.
Hello and welcome to the meeting tonight. We're going to begin with the word of prayer and then we'll have the pledge. Laura will offer the word of prayer and pledge will be led by Becca. Yeah, you come.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful this time to gather in this neighborhood district meeting. Grateful to live in this city with so many good people and are thankful for this opportunity to be better informed and to be able to take part in the civic process. We pray that that will bless the activities of this evening, that we'll have thy spirit to guide and influence this meeting. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the first department topic we have is related to the flooding response and preparedness. Chris Blinzinger will be presenting on that.
I need to use the mic. Okay.
Yes.
Wonderful. Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Blinzinger. I'm the Provo City Emergency Manager. And while I am not a flood specialist, I am a guy who pulls groups together, people together, coordination, network, and all that kind of stuff when things happen to help resolve problems. So we're seeing a lot of stuff about flooding right now. Flooding potential. We have quite a large snowpack up there. The news is showing every little bit of flooding, and that's creating a little bit of me getting a lot of phone calls about what are we doing. And those are great questions. I want you to know without a doubt that Provo City has their finger on the pulse of the flooding issue. We are meeting regularly, conversations with people with engineering degrees, stormwater folks, working with our information group, putting information out, and working with administration in our efforts. Some of you have heard about our sandbagging operations going on down in the public works yard. We've asked for volunteers. We've had some great student groups, young people groups. Anyone that is available. Rachel, where can they get that information to sign up to volunteer down there?
I've put it on Facebook. I'm not sure if Stormwater has it on their website for the volunteers, but we have been posting it on the Facebook district. I just posted it today again for District 1 on the Facebook page. They have a sign up on there, so check there.
So you can go there, sign up, specific shifts. The reason for that sign up is that we don't have a bottleneck of 500 people showing up. They're hoping for about 80 people per shift. Go down there and volunteer. The shifts are 4 hours, but if you can only stay an hour, great. Show up on the time you're scheduled, stay an hour, and leave when you have to. This is one of those situations that's going to take all of us, all of our efforts. If people say, what can I do? You can do some sandbagging. That's something that you can do.
Chris,
Yes.
there was a question on Facebook about whether you had to be 18 to sign up or not.
You do not have to be 18. That was originally our rule, but that was also, we weren't getting as much help as we could because some people had children. So 11 years old with a parent or guardian to sign for you. One of the things that we're doing, and this is where the emergency management role comes in. I'm a scriptorian for those of you. I'm a scriptorian of FEMA doctrine and National Incident Management System doctrine. That's not a good thing because the way it's applied in every jurisdiction across the country is a little different. So I've had to kind of do the translation from the FEMA doctrine. But one of the things we're doing with those volunteers is you have a little thing that you scan, you put your information in, you get your name, a little bit of what you did and where you did it. What we get for that, if we do have a significant flooding event, we can record about $25 an hour for every person that volunteered or every person that contributed to this flooding response that's recorded and documented. Now, when something happens and say we have a large incident, maybe it's a flooding incident or something, we've seen some of these flooding issues up north, and we do get federal monies to help us recover and protect or heal from that. We are responsible for at least for a maximum of 25% of the cost if we get federal funding to help us with that. Every dollar that we put into every volunteer hour goes toward that in-kind match. And that's going to save us from going to having to fund that out of the general fund or there's some jurisdictions across the country, Boulder, Colorado had to bond out for their 25% responsibility when they had their big flood. It was like a crazy amount, like $300 million when that canyon flooded and washed out those homes and unfortunately some lives were lost. But those are some things that we're doing now. More that you can do besides volunteer, clean out your gutters, check your storm drains. These are the gutters on the street. This is not the gutters on your house. Jeanie will talk about the gutters in your house. You need to keep those clean as well. But the gutters in the street, free from debris, rocks, dirt, mud, things like that. And clean out your storm drain. Those are important things so that when the water starts to come and run down the side, it's just dropping into our drainage system and it's not getting the sedimentation. If we clean them out, clean the dirt out of the gutter, that helps. But also, I want you to check on your neighbor, make sure that they know what to do. Not be the police for them, but help them. Help them understand or help them do the work. This is something that's going to take all of us. We have to look after each other. I'm from the Midwest. I was born down on the Ohio River in southern Indiana. We have tornadoes, we have flooding every year. There was no great faith-based organization network there. It was every person that jumped in to help. You've got a great network of a faith-based organization here. Use that if it helps you. Or check on your neighbor. Check the people across the street, check the people next door to you, make sure that they understand what to do, and maybe they need a little help. And the flooding happens, once you check yourself and you're okay, check on your neighbor. Make sure that they're okay, that they have what they need. This is when we take the time to take care of each other. Now, fortunately, we haven't seen any increased flows yet. We've still got cooler temperatures, and it's cooled off today quite a bit from what it was yesterday. That's a good thing. It is 100% on Mother Nature about whether we have a flooding event or not. If we get sustained temperatures of 75 or 80 degrees, 5 or 6 days in a row, that's really going to start melting that snow and bringing it down toward us. Now, when I say we have our finger on the pulse, there's contingency plans. We have put some infrastructure in place that has never been tested since 1983. How many of you knew the area of Rock Canyon Park before it was a retention basin? Okay, that is one of our flood controls. So that's going to slow the flow, but it's still got to come out at some point. So the finger on the pulse means we're going to be watching that. If we see those increased flows, we will direct that water to a drainage area, to a drain. Slate Canyon is another place where we've got retention basins, but we put a big old pipe down the middle of 300 South that we hope to carry the floodwaters, those increased flows coming out of Slate Canyon. Now, if the flows are coming so fast we can't contain them, there's some other things that we might do, reverting back to 1983 days with using sandbag to carry a channel of water to the drainage area. That does create some problems for emergency response, for school district and bus routes. That creates some problems, but it's something that we have to do. My boss is very big on quiet voice and spirit of cooperation. It's easy to get frustrated when the train is stopped over there on 700 South and you're waiting and it goes back and forth and it stops, and it's really easy to get aggravated, but this is not a time to get aggravated. This is a time to work together and work as one neighborhood, as one group, as one street, work together. I got the sign back there, it has a little QR code. I want everyone in the city to sign up for emergency alerts. How many of you get alerts from Rachel or from the council office? Information. So you're probably already in there. If you don't get those or in your neighborhoods, spread the word. We want people to register for that. They won't get the neighborhood alerts unless they want to, but definitely emergency alerts. If there's a lot of flows coming and we need people to avoid an area, we want to be able to notify you. If we have to evacuate, heaven forbid we had to evacuate someplace, we can direct you what area to avoid and which way to go. Now, fortunately for us, we live in a fairly narrow city. We can't go west because there's a mountain. We can't go west because there's a lake, and east because there's a mountain. I got it. So that leaves us north or south. Now, part of the Be Ready Utah campaign, Be Ready is a national program. Get a kit, make a plan, and be informed. Getting a kit is have your things to grab and go. Maybe that's some extra clothes, maybe that's some important papers or your cell phone and your cell phone charger. That's in your kit. Make a plan. You know, if I had to leave my house, I've got a family member in Springville, in Eagle Mountain, I could go there if I had to leave my house. And be informed. That being informed is very important. Getting those notifications. Don't get panicked from the news, but understand that we are on the pulse. Get information from our Facebook, where we have a robust group that's pushing out messages through the parks Facebook page, through the council Facebook page, through the fire and police Facebook pages, and through public works. We're trying to reach as many people as we can. That's information about the flooding, about our risk. And just keep in mind that when we see those sustained flows for 5 or 6, or the sustained temperatures for 5 or 6 days, that's when we start getting concerned about how much water is coming out of the off the frontal canyons. Now, my last bit, we have 2 reservoirs up the canyon from us, Deer Creek Reservoir and Jordanelle Reservoir. Deer Creek Reservoir does not have any flood control. That means that when it's full, it runs over the spillway. They have a hydroelectric plant. A lot of that water goes to Salt Lake Valley through what is now the Murdoch Trail. Where there's some obligations of water for farming and for Provo City that comes down this far. Where we measure the level of the river is down towards the lake. 1,800 cubic feet per second is a key number. Typically in the spring, when we see those increased flows, we get about 1,800 cubic feet per second. That's like 1,800 basketballs going past every second. Okay. Right now it's running about 450. Typically in the coldest part of winter, it's running about 50 cubic feet per second. So crews have spent a lot of time in that river, clearing the channel, clearing out those sandbars under bridges, making sure that when those flows come, they're not getting hung up. Okay. And that is the efforts that we've done to prepare. So Jordanelle has about 40,000 feet of fill space that they don't ever fill unless there are some high-level administration signing that they can fill that. That's their flood storage. So they both have a lot of flooding a lot of fill capacity. We've talked with the National Weather Service hydrologist. We work closely with Central Utah Water and Provo River Waters Users Association and the Bureau of Reclamation, who all have a role in the operation of the dam. So we're not concerned as much about how much water is coming out of the dams, because they can control that from Jordanelle. What we worry about is this frontal canyon as the weather warms up and things get a little tricky. So that's all I have for you. Keep apprised, be informed, look for those postings, look for the information coming out of the city. There will be a point where we send out regular emails, or I'm not sure how that's coming out, but we'll let Rachel know and she can pass that on, where we're talking about the flows so that we can see the progress as we get closer to the warmer temperatures through May and June.
So Rock Canyon and Slate are really the only 2 major.
Those are the ones that we are most concerned about.
Little Rock.
Little Rock Canyon is a much smaller canyon, does have flows. We do have plans for that as well. Yes.
Can I ask? Oh, I'm sorry, no, just a past question. I'm just curious about the Provo River. And are they letting additional out? It doesn't seem to be real full. I mean, it's full, but not, they don't seem worried about it, I guess.
Right, and that is, it's a balancing act with how much do they hold, because they've got some increased flows going in there. They do need to fill those. They can't let everything go down to the lake. We've also got a pretty cool project called the Aquifer Restoration project, where we want to dump some of that water back into the ground. And just as we want to dump some back into the ground, they want to hold some. But that's a balancing act because they kind of have to see what that measurement is down by the lake. And that kind of regulates how much they're doing. And that's once things really warm up and start rolling.
Is there a place, is there somewhere that we can see what the specific plan is, for example, for Rock Canyon Park? If the storm drains can't keep up with that flow and it fills up that basin, where does that water go? I mean, there's a spillway that's lined up exactly with my house. And so I'd be curious to know, would the water come there? It looks like there are lower parts of that basin where it might go out on the road. It'd be helpful to know just so that we can be thinking ahead to plan. If water starts coming our way, where do our sandbags?
Right, so definitely protect, for those sandbagging, protect your front door, your windows. I had a stroke in June, I forget where it's at. So next week, Public Works will be releasing the maps and the plan for what they're doing that last course of action contingency to get that water. Keep it out of your home and your front door. The last thing, the very last thing, and then I promise I'll be done. So I had a stroke in June. I tried to eat good. I tried to be healthy and be active and do all those things. And that happened to me. I found myself without the ability to walk. I couldn't see very good. I couldn't swallow. I still had to deal with it. Ready is right here. So you can have your warehouses and your semi-trailers full of widgets and pumps and shovels and all the cool stuff. But at some point you have to be ready to solve the problem. And I'm not saying I'm that great, but I couldn't, nothing else I could do to help me get over that. Now I'm back to work in a great organization, in a great department. And I get to talk to you today, but it takes ready right here. So that's what you need to do.
Thank you.
Sharing.
What a question about, they talk about not getting sandbags too soon because they deteriorate. Are we talking about they're gone in a week or we've got a couple of months?
You've got a couple of months, but by the end of the year,
Oh, yeah.
they're gonna be rotting. They rot in the sun. Leftover sand, level out your yard. Don't put it in the trash. Make sure you're putting it in your yard, not in the gutter. Put it in your yard. It will help level out your sand.
Right, and Public Works is now saying to keep the sandbags in, like in your garage, so it's out of the sun.
Until you're ready to put them out,
Right.
yes. Sorry, it took a little long.
Thank you, Chris. I did want to say one quick thing about the sandbag volunteers thing. Actually, I did a little bit with them this week, and it's a great program. The information was available, and they said how many people were actually there, so you could like look on it and see if they needed people now, and you can go over. The other thing, though, you should be aware of is when I was there was no jobs that were easy. They're carrying like 40-pound bags of sand, so you can bring youth if they can do that, but it's not light work. All right, we are now going to turn the time. We dealt with flood. Now we're going to have a fire. Captain Jeanie Atherton is going to share with us how we help prevent wildfires affecting us after the flood.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll just have my presentation. Awesome.
Let me bring that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rachel's gonna pull up my little presentation. Yeah, so we are going from one extreme to the other. We're gonna have to worry about the flooding first, but the reality is that once everything dries out, we might run into this problem, which is wildfires, because it's a continual problem we have every single year. So I'm gonna talk about our program that we have to decrease the risk of wildfires affecting our city and what every homeowner can do in the city to create safe space around their home called defensible space. Next slide. So this is kind of what we're going to talk about. What is the Wildland Urban Interface? Because it's a term that most people that live in California, Oregon, Washington are very familiar with what the WUI is, the Wildland Urban Interface. And then what is defensible space, why we need it, and what our program entails. Okay, next one. So I'm going to read this and then give you a simplified version of what the definition is. So the WUI is the zone of transition between unoccupied land and human development. It is the line, area, or zone where structures and other human development meet or intermingle with undeveloped wildland or vegetative fuels. So a lot of people think that this area is something that is just singular to areas that are next to, like the UN is, huge national forest areas. But if you look across the east side of Provo from the north to the south, that is that whole area is a wildland urban interface, or a WUI. In short layman's terms, it's undeveloped property next to developed property. So everything on the east side backs up to National Forest Service. So as you go, if you know where the Bonneville Shoreline Trail is, everything that is wildland urban interface. And then you look at a lot of the homes in Northeast Provo in District 1's area, we have a lot of hillsides that have a lot of grass, scrub oak on them, with homes above and below them. And that is also what we consider the wildland urban interface. Okay, next slide. So the first thing I want to talk about is creating defensible space around your home. And this is something that's applicable to every home in the city. And the reason being is that while there are some fires that move through an area and destroy homes with like a flame front that's being pushed by wind, they're finding that a lot of home ignitions in some of these big fires are caused by embers that can travel up to a mile. So when we had the range fire on the other side in Orem, the other side of the canyon 3 years ago, that easily could have, the winds had been right coming from the northwest, it easily could have blown embers into the northeast part of Provo. And if you didn't have defensible space around your home, there could be situations where it could actually cause your home to ignite. So I'm just going to highlight some of these things. So the first thing, starting with the house, is we want to make sure that everyone has a clean roof and gutters of leaves and debris regularly. So if you, in the spring, get up on your roof, clean all the stuff out, because if you have little pockets where pine needles and leaves have accumulated in your gutters or in little sections of your roof line, an ember lands in that, it can easily start it on fire. The next thing is, a lot of people like to put their firewood piles next to their house because it's convenient in the winter to run out and grab a piece of wood, but you want to have those 15 to 20 feet away from your home. Not stored under your deck, because I've seen that under a wood deck, which is a very scary thing for us when we see that. Also, if you have propane tanks for your barbecue grill, you want to store those away from your house as well. And then moving out, so that's basically within 30 feet of your house, you want to get rid of as much combustible material as you can. I also tell people, if you have like lawn furniture that's wicker, that has synthetic material, cushions, you want to get those away from your home. It's okay to use them next to your home, but try to store them at least 20 feet away from your house, because if an ember lands on those, it'll easily ignite those. Then the next 70 feet, so you're looking for 100 feet of defensible space. So the next 70 feet is where you look at like your landscaping. So I've seen a lot of homes up in the foothills that have a lot of cool scrub oak, but they're all densely bunched together and the branches go down to the ground. What we want is to have you thin those out and spread them out. So you don't need to get rid of all of them, but you need to get rid of like every third one so that there's some space in between them. So if one starts on fire, it's not going to start another one on fire. And the other thing is to remove ladder fuels, meaning stuff that can go from the ground up into a tree. So if you have branches really close to the ground, then if a fire is moving through dry grass next to your property, if those branches are low enough, it can actually cause those to ignite. Then the tree starts on fire. If the tree's touching your house, then the house can start on fire. So that's the other thing we want, is the trees trimmed at least 10 feet from a chimney and a roof. So if you have any trees that are leaning on your roof or next to your chimney, you want to try to trim those back at least 10 feet. Okay, next one. So this is a project we did up on Mountain Ridge Road. So you can see we went in and cleaned out this yard, and it's a lot better. It used to look like this. And what you can see is that if we got this is basically in one of the draws behind Timpview. So we had a fire come up here with removing all of this scrub oak that was down here near this fence line where the property line is, it would slow that fire down and allow us to get down in there and get it stopped. Whereas this house right here, it would just have more fuel for it to go, because on a slope, a fire is going to spread more rapidly because the winds are usually pushing it uphill, plus the elevation and slope angle will cause the flames to actually catch stuff on fire up above it a lot quicker. Okay, next one. So I'm
is
going to
there a
have you watch this
combination,
video.
Ann? Is there a combination help between individual property owners and the city as they're cleaning those things out?
Yes, and I will get to our program where we help with this. So this fire was in Reno in 2004, and the hillside here is very similar to what we have. And the reason I show this, and it will scare people, is because the reality is if we have a fire, if we have a fire on one of these hills with homes up above it, and we don't have defensible space, and the hillside has not been, nothing's been done to it, these can be wind driven, it can push it into one house, and once one house gets started, the homes on either side can start, then the homes on either side of that can start. And you can throw every resource from every fire department in Utah County and still lose 20 homes. We basically have to find a way to stop this and get ahead of it and write off a certain number of homes before we can, to safely and effectively get this fire put out. And the thing about this was started by fireworks, which is why we have the fireworks areas and the band areas every single year. Yes.
If you clear all the vegetation off a hillside, then you're going to get erosion.
Well, we're not clearing all of it. It's more selective thinning. So we trim the grass and remove parts of the scrub oak so that they're not so close together. So that's the goal of this whole program, is to selectively thin things so that, as a fire travels up through it, it's not going to get up into the homes up above it. So I'll talk about that in just a minute. So this is so we have a program. So we have a seasonal fuels crew that goes out and they do a lot of work with homeowners, which I will get to. But one thing we do is we go up and trim all the areas that kind of interface between the city and what's considered the Wildland Urban Interface. So this is the Bonneville Shoreline Trail, just south of Rock Canyon looking north. And this was what we call our $1 million stop last year, because the fuels crew had actually gone in, and you can see where the grass is taller up here. They had gone in and trimmed with weed trimmers the entire Bonneville Shoreline Trail from Slate Canyon up to Rock Canyon. So what happened in August is there was a power surge in the Rocky Mountain power lines that actually sparked and arced and actually started this property right here on the west side of the trail on fire. But what happened was that gave us time, because if this grass had been tall and standing up next to this trail, the flame front here would have caught it on fire and it would have gone up the hill, which would have required us to call in the state of Utah, Air Resources, and a lot of things that cost a lot of money to put this fire out. But because all this grass had been trimmed and then it died, so it never grew back, we were able to get our crews in there and get it put out before anything like that happened. Okay, next slide. So what we do is we have a community chipping program. So in addition to managing the Provo City properties that are in the WUI, plus areas like the Bonneville Shoreline Trail, is we have areas in Provo where we target homeowners that are in these areas where they are next to these WUI parcels. So anything like Little Rock Drive, the homes that are on that edge of that road that's above the Timpview Draw and Mountain Ridge Roads, those are the homes that we go and speak with the homeowners and talk to them about removing the fuels from behind their home. So what we offer is the homeowners can cut out the stuff behind their homes, the scrub oak, the stuff that needs to be thinned out, and they can bring it to their curb in the front of their house. And then we come through with a chipper, which is provided by the power department. We partner with Provo Power to use their chipper in their chipper truck. And then we come in and chip all the material and haul it down to the green waste dump to be turned into mulch. Okay, next one. And so this is kind of just what the community does, is these are the piles in one neighborhood that's just south of Timpview that backs up to one of the big hillsides that goes up towards Apache. So they had cut a ton of stuff out, and they had it was a great example of what we want our piles to look like when the homeowners put them out. And that took us a long time because they did this like twice, but it was wonderful because we could actually, when people do this, if we get over the years, we want 100% of everybody to do this. But if we can get every fifth house, it gives us places when we get a fire like that one in Reno. And I know that there's a house off of 175 East above Lover's Lane that's done a ton of work. I know that we can go there, and that's where our department can set up a defensive position to keep that fire from spreading. So that's one, and that's something that over the years, as we progress this program, we want to do so that it'll make the whole community safer. And as we get more people on board year after year, we'll create a better environment for us. So, and then next slide, this is just my contact information. If anyone, I'll open it up to questions, but anyone can call or email me. And I left some of my business cards back on the table as well, if anyone has any further questions. So. Oh, yeah.
So on University, between University and about 4,800 North, there's a hillside that's not quite a wooey because it's surrounded by residents.
I know exactly what you're talking
But
about.
it
Yeah.
is so
You're
dense.
talking about the one that's behind the mortuary and
Yeah.
that little
Like
water spot?
south
Yeah.
From there.
yeah. So we've mowed, last year we mowed everything along University Avenue on that east side. So we actually talked about that hillside. That's actually, I mean, it's something we've talked about mowing this year. We'd have to do it by hand, but that's probably one that we'll go in and
There's
take
down-
care of.
There's down lumber. I mean, there are trees that have been there for years.
Yeah.
Do we worry about that? Or
Well-
because of how it's surrounded,
Are you talking about north or south of 4,800 North?
well, it's kind of the same both.
Same area.
South is between the water and the school.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Right there.
So that area, it all depends. That's something that I would have to go and look to see who owns that property. So one thing about our program is we can't go on private property and do work, but we can help homeowners that are going to do the work. So I don't know who actually owns that property. So that's something, and that's another thing that we partner with the Parks Department as well. So there's some areas along Lover's Lane and areas that the city manages. And then homeowners, bring stuff down to Lover's Lane for us too. And that's just south of there. And that might be something we could tie into that project. And that's something I could work with the park. If it's city owned, then absolutely we can figure out a way to do it, because that hillside we do consider that urban interface, because if you look at Lover's Lane, if anyone's ever walked that trail, there's a lot of deadfall in there because there's no water source for any of the trees or the grass in there. So that's a good question. So. Any other questions? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry.
Thank you so much. We're next going to hear from the school board. Lisa Boyce has items to share.
Awesome. Okay, well, thanks for giving me a minute. I thought I would just probably go over three quick things. One, an update on our superintendent search. The second thing is just some recent happenings in the schools here that I just wanted to chat about, especially a safety issue. And the third one is to tell you something really exciting that's happening tonight. We're headed right after this. So on the superintendent search, thank you to some of you who were part of our community. I've been on for a long time today, but our stakeholder committee that reviewed our applications, I guess that's how I'll say it. We had 35 individuals, I think it was, from all over Provo. They spent a tremendous amount of time. I know just my first reading through our applications, how many hours and hours it took me. So they signed a non-disclosure agreement. They sat at the district office for, at least 6 hours, but for some of them, I know it was almost double that, of reading through and scoring with a rubric every one of those applications.
How many were there?
I can't really disclose all the details of that, they told me, so it's not likely to be squirrely. I'll probably tell you later. But we had, I know that we had more than double what, not to be competitive. Am I on record? I'm on something. I'm not good at being-
It's being recorded.
Okay, there you go. We had a lot of applications and it was exciting to see there are other districts currently hiring superintendents right at the exact same time as we are. And we had a lot of applicants here. So we were really pleased. I know the state USDA, the association, they kept saying to us, because we couldn't know as the applications were coming in, we could just tell you what's going really well. So that was good. And now we have narrowed that field and we are interviewing. Today we did interviews. Tomorrow we will do more interviews and we will be done with our first round of interviews by tomorrow. And then we'll narrow the field, and honestly, it kind of depends on how it goes, whether we just narrow it to 2 or 3 and go do site visits and make a decision, or if we decide to do another round of interviews. And we do have some really qualified applicants, and we are really lucky, and for me, it just feels really like an exciting time for our schools. It's nice to see just the amount of expertise and also compassion, and people want to be in Provo. The city has done a remarkable job of building a place where people want to live and work. And so that's been something great to see.
Are
Yeah.
you gonna have a public meeting like they did before? I know last time, before Keith was chosen, they had a public meeting at the library and the.
Yeah, it is my understanding, although like I said, I feel like this process is flexing. It is my understanding they will not do that this time. Partially, some of that is due to when an applicant knows like how much they tell their current job. There's just some different variables that go into that decision, but now right now it's not what I understand is going to happen. But that's where we are, and we are hoping to announce our new superintendent by May 1st. So it's a quick timeline. We will visit the workplace of each of our finalists. That's when we get to really push in and ask a lot of specific questions. I don't love the like stick to the script questions. I want to dig in and ask what I want to know about them. Anyway, but we're doing it all the right ways. And I'm the new kid who's always kind of pushing, come on, ask this. But when we go to do site visits, we'll get to really make sure that we hire the right fit for Provo. We have a great community here, and we need to make sure we have an instructional leader who is committed to all the things that make Provo such a great place for them and educating kids. The second thing is recently, you may have heard, there were a series of calls across the country last week that there were live shooters on school campuses. So Provo was one of the 5 high schools in Utah that got just such a call and went into lockdown. I just want to compliment, I don't know if there's someone here that might be more directly involved with our police department, but our police department and our schools for the way that Provo handled it. Now, nothing's perfect, and we are here to hear what you want to give us in terms of feedback for how we can do them better. But I know some of the things that have happened in some of our neighboring districts, and they're pretty tragic. There was no live shooter on any of those campuses, but there has been a significant amount of child and teacher trauma in districts where either someone got on the loudspeaker and was like, there's a live shooter in the building, walk down drill. So your 4th graders heard that. Some districts closed every school in the district down out of caution, and I understand that, and closed streets and had, parents panicking and hours of rumors and people texting, there's a dead body outside my classroom, and information just, it grows, right? And it's hard because as a district or police department, you don't want to start giving out information until you know what you know. But Provo I was teaching and I was getting these I get the e-admin alerts on my phone, and I was like, oh my gosh. But within it, I would say for me, it was maybe 20 minutes. Provo had an all clear, this is a false alarm, the information was texted out, it was emailed out, robocalls went to parents. And our high school, only the high school was impacted, was completely cleared, even though it didn't take long for them to realize this was happening in lots of schools. That didn't rule out the possibility that there were shooters in lots of schools at the same time, but they were using this information and checking thoroughly. They had a system in place. I thought they were fast and efficient. Now, it's still tricky because you've got students with cell phones and teachers and lots of voices, but I do just want to compliment our city for the way our first responders were there, and for the way our teachers stayed calm, and I had 2 different people who work for counseling therapy practices send an email to compliment us that they weren't having trauma, like seeing the amount of trauma kids and teachers coming in like the other districts have sent. So, not like it. Anyway, good job, Provo. Good job, Provo, for the way we handle. Like I said, we want to hear. We've heard from parents about concerns about what are we doing enough to be safe in the event of something like that. We know recently there was that the shooter shot through the doors, right, that were locked. And one thing Provo has done and is continuing to look at is they put this film, not every school has it, on all of the windows. It's complicated, it voids the warranty of certain windows, etc. but it's been they tested this out and looked at the research, and so they're trying to get these films over windows where possible that make them, I mean, the things we hope we never have to do, but we need to be prepared and proactive about making sure our schools are safe. We have raptor systems now at schools, which feel a little annoying when I get there. I don't have my photo ID and I can't get in. I'm like, seriously, I'm out of my car. But you have to check in, scan your ID, and make sure that if a parent is in the school or a person is in the school, they have a reason to be there in the school. And they go where they should go within that school building. So anyway, I think Provo is doing a good job. We have a safety committee. If you go online, they give updates for what they're doing and how we can all be informed on this process. But we do want to hear from you. So if you've heard things that you feel worried about, please email the board and let us know. The third thing, my exciting thing is just one of the committees I serve on is the CAPS committee, and Provo CAPS is our Center for Advanced Professional Studies. I got that right. I'm new on the committee. We meet these students from Provo and Timpview High. Our bus takes 2 periods, and it's like a day, one of their 2 days, down to the new skin building where they have incredible space. If you want to go down and see something really exciting, see the CAPS space. And these students come in, there are 4 strands, and their strands are, let me read to you. They do. So health sciences, there's there is software, digital design and software development, business marketing and entrepreneurship, engineering and industrial design, and medicine and health science. So students come together, they have a client from our community. Provo City has given them projects. Lots of businesses around, even in Utah County, come in as a client to these students. They have an actual real need, and the students take them on as a client and work as project managers, and they're taught the whole process of what they're doing. So just briefly, and tonight, right now, what's happening is the InvestNest competition. This is almost kind of like Shark Tank, but the winner tonight from Provo gets $10,000 to help with education and to launch their small business. And it's carefully mentored money that's coming in, but to see the work these kids from the start of the year to the end of the year, not just their skills specifically in industry, but the skills of communication with a client, making a presentation, managing expectations. You see their project boards, and you see that they're moving these Post-it notes along for where they are on the projects. We saw a student this week present on a piece of programming that his group is doing for the real curriculum, which they're designing a web app where when students come into Reality Town, which is a thing they do in middle school, they'll now have an app where they manage their budget and their purchases, and their finances get approved by the volunteers that are there, and they're doing all the programming and creating this app. I know in industrial design, they have this old, it looks like an old piece of technology. It's a robotic arm from Grim Reaper Broadheads. But it wasn't working, and it was sitting on the shelf, so they gave it to them, and then they gave them a task of figuring out how to get it working, how to code it to make it useful to complete some tasks, to sharpen the arrowheads. Anyway, so watching them troubleshoot and code, and now they had a set of instructions that I followed, and I felt really cool that I made this robotic arm work. And they're also working with the Now I Can Foundation, and one of the cool things they've done is work on designing some Halloween costumes for kids who are using a walker or in a wheelchair, and do this full really cool design project within that. So yeah, that's just some of what's going on right there. This summer, Provo will host the CAPS Summer Huddle, which is for all the schools in the United States that have CAPS programs. And they will come into Provo, and we'll have them here at the convention center, and we hope they spend all their money. And we'll go on tours of, I know that Wasatch School District has a cool CAPS program. There's one up in Davis, there's one here in Provo, but Provo is really helping to lead the way on how to make what these kids are learning more relevant to real life, and also to give students a chance to prototype themselves in careers, right? And find out, maybe I really hate this. And I don't want to go to college and study, or I don't want to go get a job and do this thing. So it's an exciting thing to see. If you ever want to ask for a tour, you could email me, lisa@provo.edu, or reach out to someone in the CAPS program, and we'll walk you through the space that New Skin gives. Is spectacular. I'm so lucky for them.
Thanks, Lisa, for all you're doing, the good stuff at the school district and board. Next, we're just gonna have a quick update, on the Blue Rock sign that was mentioned. There's an oversized electronic, sign. And there was a court case actually, or hearing, the 11th earlier this week. And they removed the gag order on the city, so the city can now comment on and provide advice to the Board of Adjustment on whether or not the sign can continue to be there. That there was an oral ruling on that. They also said that for the time being, until the variance is over, the variance hearing and the related legal issues, that they won't be able to remove the sign. But that hearing is actually the 17th, so it's next week. And the city did issue a staff report related to that, and their staff report is available online, but the short version is they have recommended that the Board of Adjustment not grant a variance for that sign. I was not actually at the hearing. If anybody has any additional information they want to share, that can be shared now. Go ahead.
One thing to keep in mind is that the public can come to the Board of Adjustment if they want to speak out against the sign.
So we can't speak at the board of business.
Yes,
I believe
thanks.
it's, I believe it's Monday, 17th.
It is the 17th, and she's right.
5 o'clock. Anyway, the people involved in fighting this have reached out to me and just asked that we come if we can.
So yeah, 5 o'clock is in this building, actually, Board of Adjustment meets. And you can also submit things before the meeting. I think over 150 people have submitted in support of a petition, basically requesting the sign not be granted a variance or continue to violate the zoning codes.
I just wanted to say really quick on the calendar. I mean, on the calendar here with our agenda, if you click on Blue Rock Medical, it'll open up the staff report for the hearing that's going on April 17th. And so you can kind of read all about what's going on that.
Thank you. Next thing we're going to talk about, and Robert's going to share a few things on this, but we've come up with a new tool for tracking things that are happening. And it's a spreadsheet, and it's already been posted on a draft version has been posted on the website. And Rob will touch on how that works and how it's a useful tool.
I'm not sure.
Oh, how it works.
As part of our district, we wanted to try and have something that would allow all of us who represent different neighborhoods know what's happening in the different neighborhoods. Since we now all represent the same district, we wanted to be able to understand what was happening if we get questions or comments on other areas in our district. So we've come up with a report that at least Rachel has, and I think we've done a great job. And it's now going to be, Rachel, you tell us it's posted.
Yes, so it's on the Neighborhood District 1 Facebook page. And the very first post you'll get to, it'll say, click on the link for, right now it's preliminary spreadsheet of ongoing development items of interest to District 1. And if you click on it, it'll open up a spreadsheet showing the status, when it was first come to the city, the name, permit number, the address, a little bit about what the project is. And then it'll say like what hearings have happened, what were the results, what are the next actions, and whether or not a neighborhood meeting was held on it. And it's divided up by neighborhood. So if you click on these tabs on the bottom, if there's a certain neighborhood you're interested in, then you can go and find that information all in one spot, and it will kind of tell you what's going on. I'm still in the process of finishing it up, but all the planning applications are there. I just don't have all the hearing information entered in yet, but that should be done probably this next week.
So not only for us as a group, but our neighbors who are in our areas can pull this up and get a snapshot of what's happening in their neighborhoods or even other neighborhoods in their area. And just like I was just looking on the Blue Rock, it says right on here when the next public meeting is or hearing, and gives you that information. So if people are interested in a certain project and where it's at in the process, they can pull this up and see when the next hearing or the next city council meeting, so that they can stay involved in the process directly.
And you need to be impressed that he can read the small print.
So, Rachel, I
Yes.
wonder, is this document searchable? For example, I heard there's something happening at Days Market. Can I put Days Market in somewhere, or do I need
You
to
know,
just click on
that's-
Edgemont?
You should be able to just click on files and then search.
Yeah,
I think, or maybe it's edit.
let's see what comes up. If there's,
Yeah, edit. There's a find and replace, so you should be able to put a term in there.
let's see. So if we do days,
In the browser window, so you can do control F and just,
Yeah.
yeah,
you don't have to do.
right. You can just do, and then, whoops, let me get out of that. And then it'll bring you right to, there's that behind Days warehouse. There's the Charles Openshaw, or what you were saying, that the control F.
You know, you can do control F and go.
Let's say if you're looking for Blue Rock Medical. Oh, see that one, the control F, I think only does it on that page, maybe?
Yeah, if you
Just that
do,
sheet.
yeah, if
On
you
that
do,
sheet.
if you do the search in edit, under the edit menu.
So
you
under
can
the
search
edit.
On all the sheets at once.
Oh, that's awesome. That's fantastic. And then that way you can find exactly what you're looking for.
And is there a way to, I'm sorry, I didn't think to ask this in the previous meeting, to add a link to the staff report? Say,
That's a great idea. No, we can definitely do that. Add links to the staff reports, reports of action, so you can read for more information.
that would be great. I'd love to hear more about the Days Market thing, but I know it's been withdrawn for changes.
Right.
So this is both a tool to help provide information, but also if you look at this and you see something missing or incorrect, circle back with us, let us know. This is also a tool that helps identify things that we might want to hear about in this meeting. If there's something on there, many of them have to come to this meeting or will come to this meeting, but some won't unless people raise it as a concern to their neighborhood.
Correct. The one where the permit number is in red, that has to go to a neighborhood meeting. If it's black, it doesn't have to, and the majority of them are black. So unless I hear from the board, those items won't be on a meeting. And so that's, I think it, like you said, it's a good idea for the residents to see that list so they can then say, hey, we want this at a future meeting.
Any questions or comment on this?
Is there any other location but Facebook where this can reside?
I will, when I send out I do a little newsletter, an email newsletter. Hopefully you should have gotten one on Monday telling you about this meeting. I will include the links in that.
It's a Google Doc. Right.
And so it is
I can see that. I just saw that it was that.
right. I mean,
Can
Do you
it
have a
be on the
proposal
neighborhood
or-
page?
Well, I just don't do.
oh,
Facebook.
the website.
Someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, we can add that to the website. Well, maybe let me bring up the website really quick.
District 1 meeting file.
Yeah, there is a District 1 meeting file. There's also, I don't know if it'd be easier if it was just right here. Like a link right here to it in this District 1 box.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Rachel, I
can you
wonder-
also show the map that shows where
Oh, yeah.
things are? Because an additional tool for people who are more visual is just a map of the city, and it has red stars where every project is. And so you can, if you drove by and saw something, then you can find the name and
Where's my
information
mouse?
about
There
it.
it is. Yeah, if you go to the Provo City website and under departments, click on development services. And then you just scroll down to link to map of current projects. It's going to show you every planning application and building permit in Provo. And So if you, the red star, I know there's a lot. The red stars,
Blue.
so you can hide building permits to show just the stars. You can zoom in. And then if you drive by and you're wondering about this, you can click on it and, oh, that's the Jocelyn Court Townhomes. Oh, they still need to complete their application. Here's a little bit about it. This is who I need to contact if I have questions.
At the city.
Yeah, at the city.
So back to the other page though, that had District 1 and the box that had District 1's Facebook page.
Yes.
A person doesn't have to be, so if you were to just click on that right now, District 1 Facebook page. You do not have to have a Facebook account.
No.
For this page to come up,
I saw that login.
and then you can,
It just wants you to log in. You don't have
Do
to.
that.
right. So then if you continue to scroll down, you can see that little bitty Google Doc there, and you can click on.
I
this.
know. I need to get a better picture or something on there.
But-
That's just came up, but
You
yeah.
do not have to have a Facebook page to click on that and open it up.
No.
It's that easy. I don't think we need to.
Right.
Sure to have the link here.
Yeah, what you said is that link.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great idea.
All right, next thing is we were gonna get a quick report, and actually I'll just share this on the grant, the matching grant for the North Temp View Neighborhood Park. They've gotten all the consents there. There's a few processes still need to be completed for some bidding, but basically that's proceeding forward, and we expect that to happen on schedule. Next item is about the matching grant process itself. Maybe Rachel can you put the language up.
Yes.
Basically, this was language that's designed to help us share the grant opportunities with people who have, or neighborhoods who haven't used one recently. And we're probably we're gonna take comments after people read it or have any input on it. It's also posted, but. And the idea is, if this language basically works, we'll just vote to use it going forward, or if there's tweaks, we'll consider those as well.
I'm not sure everybody can read it. Can you read it? for us?
I'm glad to read it. During the first 9 months, looks like there's a typo. Great start. During the first 9 months, the initial period of Provo City's fiscal year, which runs from July 1 to June 30th, any neighborhood in District 1, which has not received a matching grant in the last 7 years, can apply to the District 1 Neighborhood Executive Board for permission to seek a matching grant available for such fiscal year to District 1. Anytime after the initial period of Provo City's fiscal year, any neighborhood in District 1 may apply to the District 1 Board for permission to seek any matching grant funds that have not been spent or allocated to another project in District 1. All applications for matching grants will be heard at a District 1 Neighborhood Executive Board meeting and will be approved or denied based on a simple majority of all votes cast in the meeting. Basically, it just says that for the first 9 months of the year, anybody who hasn't received their grant in the last 7 years, those neighborhoods get to make requests. But if nobody's used it up by the end of the 9 months, any neighborhood can make requests.
Is 3 months enough time to do everything else?
That question was raised, and we think so, and we're willing to change it if otherwise, but we can't really, but you know, if people want to, we can shift that a little. That specific question was raised, but I don't know if people think it's.
Ready to go, yeah.
Go ahead.
This isn't specific to this language, but the matching grant in general, there is a map where you can look at all past funded projects. So if you're not sure if your neighborhood did get something in the last 7 years, you can look. And if you're thinking that you have an idea that you might want to pursue, you can also look at and all around Provo. So not just District 1, you can kind of see how other districts have been using the matching funds, and it might spark some ideas if you're not sure and you know your neighborhood hasn't done anything in a while.
Thanks, Becca. Those are both good tools to see what has been done before and see what's been done recently. I would want to clarify one thing. The provision we're putting up there is really a forward-looking one. We're not looking back and saying, 3 years ago, neighborhood X did something, but those are good tools for informational purposes and ideas on what you might want to do in your neighborhood.
Stand to the language that's actually in there when we vote to approve. Are you talking about the board? Are we talking about the neighborhood district? And we aren't actually approving the grant. That should be clear. This
Yes.
body doesn't make that approval.
We're granting the right for them to fill out the application, frankly. So that's the approval. The approval is, they're the ones out of this district who go forward with the application. Yeah. Go ahead.
Just one thought. Maybe we go back to, let's give them plenty of time so we don't lose the money. And maybe go back to 4 months, give them 4 months. 8 months to propose. And give
Those are the shift from 9 months to 8 months.
Yeah, I just want to make sure there's plenty of time.
Does anybody feel like that? I'm good with that, but
I would second that.
we have a second. We're gonna take a quick vote. Everybody, go ahead.
I feel like this is gonna say, so I guess whoever's first, figure out that they didn't get it in 7 years and they get in. Then we vote, versus if you had a time that said, all applications who think they meet this criteria should be submitted by this date, then they all get presented, and then there's a vote on which of those is chosen. Otherwise, I'm not, I don't know, I just wonder about why you don't do it that way. I guess.
You're concerned about a race or a,
Let's say, if there is one date when we all submit this by, then you might get one that goes really quickly and pulls it together. Maybe that's who you reward by choosing them. But if you don't say, here's the deadline by which if you feel like you meet these criteria, you may apply, then it's just first come is first chosen.
Well,
And maybe that's how you want it to be. If I'm just asking if that's how you want it to be, or if you had considered saying, here's the deadline by which you apply if you think you meet the criteria.
so what our process is when somebody submits a request, other people can also request and be heard in the same meeting.
Correct.
But there is kind of a sense that if people, like we did before, people heard a request, nobody else had a request at that time in our last meeting,
Right.
and that one was voted on and approved. And so that is probably the process we're anticipating right now.
The only concern I would have is there may be one of the projects that's more beneficial to the whole city than one of just the neighborhood that ought to have some concern in terms of our deciding which one would get it that particular year.
And I guess,
Go ahead.
maybe if I understand you right,
I just like, yeah.
maybe the debt, because we want to see how you, over that period of time, there might be 3 different ones come in at different periods, and you want to evaluate the 3 next to each other. So the thought was maybe 8 months. If
Yes,
there's a
if they
deadline,
can.
they have to be in by that 8-month period, and then everyone that's come in that period will be evaluated at the same meeting.
But that would also delay somebody who wanted to submit a project in July to be finished by the end of the summer from being able to act on it.
Historically, the summer has been a prime time for these projects to take place. And because of that, and the way the fiscal year starts, they frequently want to happen in the very first part of the fiscal year. And I'm not adverse to, considering some additional language. We've had some offline discussions about, pros and cons of grading projects and picking the best ones and so forth. We think this is a good program and it does some good things, but we do not want to overwork it. It is a $5,000 grant. This is a rounding error to the Parks Department. This is not the kind of money that we need to spend many meetings hashing out. Is this project slightly better than another project? We want to involve neighborhoods. We want to have these projects happen, but we don't want to make it a point of contention, I think.
And historically, for the city in the past, it has been a first come, first served
Okay,
basis
that's all
type
about.
of program.
That's how it's been done
It has
before,
to
but
be applied, like I said, in a fiscal year. And the difference really that you're seeing now is that where historically it was every neighborhood could apply for a grant, a matching grant of $5,000. Every neighborhood wouldn't get one, and frankly, they saw 3 or 4 in a year from the whole city. It's just not something people have jumped on because of the complexity of the thing. because of the matchingness of it, you have to get all, if you want $5,000, you have to come up with $5,000 for matching labor. So historically, that's not been a thing. The new language in the program is, and this is where it gets itchy for us, is that now it's $5,000 per district per fiscal year. So it could be that North Timpview gets it this year. They have applied. Theirs is the one that's going forward. Again, we aren't the deciding factor in this.
Yeah.
That's city council.
Yep.
And their board, whatever the board is. But so if they don't get it, Edgemont could very well be, I'm in the background and I'm kind of doing my homework and I'm ready to go the minute the board says no. That is in no implication of any kind at this moment. It's just the possibility that the city council may decide for whatever reason. So then I could, before June 1st or July 1st, say, I want to get this going because I have this project. You may say, well, Edgemont, you got yours last year, and we did get ours last year. And it was nice that we could share. I like, as Paul's saying, if there's something that benefits the whole city, it'd be nice if there was some that, well, District 1 and District 2 want to get together and do. And that language isn't in the code yet, so I don't know how they want to address it. So that would be something to suggest to city council, that they add that language to the code. Dan's right, it's not a lot of money to spend a lot of time on, but it does get something done. You can see, like you said, the historic list of things that have been done. Some of them have been some nice little projects. So, but it is, I continue to be okay with the first come first served basis, but I don't mind bringing it back to 4 months for if North Timpview thinks they can do something again next year, let's let them try.
Okay.
Let's give somebody else first.
Money?
Another example, I understand your deadline, and at first reaction, it sounds awesome, but North Timpview missed the fiscal year when we changed the program over, you know, trying to get this thing through before January 1st, because like Sharon brought up, there's a lot of hoops to go through. And you just don't meet the timeline, and you just keep working on it. And even though if you miss the timeline, it doesn't matter. There's another fiscal year coming up. So it shakes out in the end anyway.
Right. I want to thank everybody for your comments. Nice, Sharon, Lisa, those are all good. I think we probably want to just take a quick vote on whether we shift the period from 9 months to 8 months. Those in favor by raising hands for 8 months.
Sorry, I'm not ready to vote personally.
On the 8 or 9 months or something
Well,
else. We haven't voted on the whole
I know,
provision.
but
We're just
why not make it 6 months? It's arbitrary anyway. If because I kind of some of these comments are getting at, well, what if somebody comes in and has something that's awesome? This now precludes us from being able to give it to them for some reason. Or why not give us more freedom to say, hey, this is a great project. Why would we not? Even if they did it a year or two ago in the same area. So if it was 6 months, then it erases my concern about this at all. But if it's 8 or 9 months, then I still think we need some language in here that just gives us the wiggle room. If something comes in, we're like, this is an important project. It's valuable. It helps more than that single neighborhood. Approve it. Don't let this get in the way.
So what the language does right now, to be clear, it is a whoever signed up for a meeting, only those in that meeting are hurt. And the cutoff, whether it be 8 months or some other thing, just says if you get past that date, then anybody can come in. That's all. That's all the 8 month or 9 month period does.
But we can make 3 months. We can make it whatever we want. What I'm saying is, if someone comes in and by this language, they cannot present it to us, but we wish they did. There's a project out there that somebody wishes, they look at this and go, oh, I can't do it because 2 years ago we did a project in our area, but it's a really good project. And there's no guarantee anybody's going to come use the money later anyway. Wouldn't we rather hear them present?
So you're saying in special circumstances, if somebody wants to come in and present early, that's what you're talking about.
Well, this is all about not
Nobody presents early. Yeah.
putting a favoritism on one specific neighborhood or something.
Mhm.
But if there's something that's really awesome, I think we ought to hear it and not let this get in the way. That's my point.
So are you bringing it back to 6 months or taking it away?
I don't understand.
Personally, I think I'm okay with this going away. But if we really like this, I'd say make it 6 months, because then it gives us more freedom in the year to just take whoever's project comes in, we say, that was a great idea. We should totally do that. This puts us in a bind to say, oh, we can't do that yet, we gotta wait another 3 months.
So your proposal is that we consider moving the date to 6 months.
If we think this is important, I think, why not?
And
It's arbitrary anyway.
Is this question, is this really that crucial, this? thing?
If we think this is crucial, I would say, why not make it 6 months? Because then we have 6 months of the fiscal year for everybody to go, hey, let's use the money that the city's willing to match.
Anybody else have a comment on the proposal to change it to 6 months? We can vote on that then. Let's.
I think, I agree that the more time we give, to not lose them is better.
Okay.
That's,
So we will now take a vote on whether we change the number of months to 6. Those in favor? Everybody in the room and the people on Zoom are also entitled to vote on this. If they have signed in as Provo residents. So we are taking a vote now as to whether or not people would prefer it to go to 6 months. That would be a yes vote. A no vote would mean it would remain at 9 months. Those in favor, please raise your hand. You have an online.
I don't have anyone voting so far.
Those opposed? The motion carries. So now we have the overall proposal with the modification as described. Those in favor, raise hand. Those opposed? Oh, sorry.
Keep it.
Keep
I'm
it
a slow counter.
Those opposed?
No, I'm like.
That motion is carried, and that is the last item we have on our agenda, except that we do have the availability for people to make a public comment if they would like to do so. Is there anybody who would like to make a 2-minute public comment at this time?
Actually, that's a question regarding, it's not really about the service on the,
Pass the mic so we can hear.
not really about the sandbags, the service, but somebody near my neighborhood is selling sandbags. And my thought is that they got them for free from the city.
Oh, are they what?
I saw the person selling sandbags, and I had some discussions with my kids about it, and I think it's wonderful. If they are needed and somebody wants to buy those sandbags, they should. And if there is an actual flood happening, I might buy those sandbags. Somebody is stockpiling some sandbags, and I don't know where they got them, and offering them for sale. I hope nobody needs them.
They didn't get them for free from the city.
I don't know where they got them. There's far more than 25. But sandbags, I don't know how expensive sandbags are. The city's cost to provide sandbags is minimal. I'm not worried about $2 worth of bags and some sand to shovel in. It's interesting, but I'm not worried myself. Other people might be. $5 a bag. If it's flooding, I might buy some. All right. Any other comments, public comment?
Yeah.
I think we're adjourned. Thank you very much.